Over the past 27 years, the Tomb Raider franchise has built a pretty solid and respectful reputation, and it has done so by milking the massive success that Lara Croft has had in the late 90s. Even though there was a dark period in the series' history, the developers at Core Design and subsequently Square Enix always tried their best to live up to Lara's reputation and to deliver the best content possible, whether that's in games, books, movies or animes. But sometimes, achieving these standards has not always been possible, and due to lack of resources, staff disagreements, or even poor time management and unrealistic goals, a lot of proposed titles would never make it past the initial stages of development, and therefore, projects had to be cancelled and repurposed into something else. Some of these projects are quite known, others not so many. So today, I'll be showing you 5 Tomb Raider games that we'll never get to play. And with that out of the way, let's start with the first game, Raiders. Raiders is a cancelled project in the Tomb Raider series that would have been developed for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and PC as a co-op multiplayer spin-off, before Crystal Dynamics decided to instead working on Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light. Raiders' concept was heavily different from the Guardian of Light, as it would have been so much more similar to the original Tomb Raider games, with third-person exploration, platforming and shooting combat. The story focused on the clones of Lara Croft, known as doppelgangers. It's currently unclear if players would use these doppelgangers as their playable character or if they were the main enemies. Personally, I believe that they would be the antagonists, somehow reminiscing Tomb Raider Underworld. The game was canned in pre-production when they just had some concept made with placeholder graphics and some gameplay ideas to pitch to the studio managers. Okay, next game on the list, Tomb Raider Ascension. This next title was supposed to be the 9th mainline game in the series, but it was eventually replaced by the game we know today as Tomb Raider 2013. Development of this game started early 2009, and even though I believe it would be a really fun experience, I'm happy that it was never finished. Actually, let me rephrase that. I'm sad that this game was never finished, but I am happy that it's not a mainline title, as this is not what I expect at all from a Tomb Raider game. However, I would wish we could have the opportunity of playing this game at some point as a spin-off game. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil, Silent Hill and Shadow of the Colossus, and honestly, it looks like this game was heavily inspired by those 3 titles. The enemies look like Silent Hill ones, it had the horror that you have on a Resident Evil game, especially when Lara was running away from those creatures, and there were these big, ugly enemies trying to kill you, exactly like in the Shadow of the Colossus. I honestly believe that taking the horror side of things, it could end up being more Tomb Raider than the Tomb Raider 2013 itself. I know, don't kill me. Lara's model looked like more underworlds than the final product that we got in Tomb Raider 2013, plus there was a goal to locate a tomb in the early footage of the game, and you can't say the same for Tomb Raider 2013, can you? Okay, third game on this list, Tomb Raider 3 Beta. Okay, you must be thinking, why the hell is Bartoli adding cut content into this video? Because we had Tomb Raider 3, right? That's because even though cut content and unused cutscenes are not unusual when developing a game, the amount of content in Tomb Raider 3 that it was changed and left out of the final version of the game was bloody unreal. Especially considering that the developers only had less than a year to develop this game. That's crazy. There were a lot of differences in the few level designs, such as Jungle and Area 51, a couple of weapons from the original game that were essentially changed, some of the levels changed its name, such as Jungle Ruins to Jungle, and Temple of Shiva to Temple Ruins. But the key changes done in this game, worth being mentioned in this video, was 2 big levels planned to this game that it was eventually cut or heavily changed. First, a Peru level was meant to feature in the beginning of the game. This screenshot was taken from an unfinished beta copy of the game, where it shows clear evidence of Peru's previous existence. During a magazine interview, Core Design explained that the first level in Tomb Raider 3 would provide insight into the game's story. Then players would be able to choose the start of their adventure set in 4 different locations: India, London, South Pacific and Nevada. It is possible that the first level may have originally been set in Peru, where Lara Croft was supposed to retrieve the first artifact. This is purely speculation and it's completely unconfirmed but highly possible, right? Another level cut from the original game was a level called All Hallows, which is a bonus level in Tomb Raider 3 that was originally intended to come directly after Time's Worth, regardless of how many secrets you collect. A beta version of the game confirms that this was changed during the last month of development. Okay, 4th game on the list, Tomb Raider the 10th Anniversary Edition. After Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness had been considered a failure, Core Design in 2004 came up with the new Tomb Raider project, and what a project that was. The project, known as Tomb Raider 10th Anniversary Edition, aimed to recreate the original Tomb Raider game released in 1996, adding a lot of enhancements and additional content to the original game. Core developed their version of Tomb Raider the 10th Anniversary Edition for approximately 9 months until it was cancelled early June by Ski. A trailer for the unfinished game emerged on the internet. Later that week, Eidos confirmed that the game has been cancelled and fans have been working their asses off to make the game somehow playable. Personally, I would see this game being a commercial failure, but at the same time a love letter for longtime fans, as the game focused on what made the classic game so damn special. For example, the atmosphere and the puzzles were just amazing, the color palette was so warm and beautiful, and the additional content was made perfect and ahead of its time. They really focused on gameplay instead of catching up with the other games that were making the most of the PS2 and Xbox 360 hardwares to make the visuals more realistic than ever, and I believe that that factor alone was going to hurt the sales eventually. Ultimately, the reason this game was cancelled was because while Core Design was developing this game, Crystal Dynamics was simultaneous developing their own Tomb Raider Anniversary game, which was eventually the one to be released in 2007. And last but not least, Curtis Trent, Bloodline. In 2001, Core and Eidos had big plans for a character in the Angel of Darkness game called Curtis Trent. However, Curtis was a divisive character in terms of popularity back in the day, because fans initially saw him as an outsider, especially when we were put in a position to play as him. We thought that this guy made no sense at all, and we asked ourselves, why are we playing as Curtis and not as Lara? Lara has always been a lone wolf. Why does she need a partner? Will they be in a romantic relationship? That's all questions we had in the past, and then the game finishes and we still have no clear idea why Curtis was there. That's because AOD was meant to be a trilogy, which possibly would flesh out Curtis' story, but the big plan was to do an entire spin-off franchise with Curtis, starting with a game called Curtis Trent Bloodline. According to some official documents of the game from 2001, recovered by Tomb of Ash in 2017, the game was already written, with 2 different versions of the story, but essentially telling the story of a troubled, lonely and misunderstanding man that had paranormal abilities, and encouraged by his friend paranormal expert Professor Edward Francis, he started going into many adventures to understand his powers, to only come across a 12-year-old boy called Lucifer. Yeah, you know where this is going, right? That was undergoing tests when all of a sudden the monitoring equipment went off, changing the boy into an uncontrollably violent creature that needed to be stopped. The game has 8 different levels, starting with the hunt for this demon child, all the way to Curtis defeating the Antichrist and absorbing nuclear blasts. Whoa. Anyway, it really sounds a great concept for a game, but the project never surpassed the planning stage, and unfortunately, it looks like we will never end up playing it. And with that being said, Raiders, we reached the end of the video. Was there any cancelled game or any great unused cut content that deserved to be here in this video? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bartolo's Hideout signing out, thanks for watching, stay safe, and until our next adventure.